A stone the size of a fist breaks loose under the young mountain goat's front hoof. For half a second, the whole cliff seems to breathe. Then the kid slides. His hooves scrape across gray rock. Dust jumps into the air. Pebbles rattle down the face below him, bouncing once, twice, then vanishing into a place too steep for second chances. He catches on a narrow shelf no wider than his own body. His legs splay. His chest presses against cold stone. Above him, the route he used to reach this place has changed from a path into a scar of loose gravel. Below him, the mountain falls away through mist, broken shale, and scattered snow. Mountain goats are famous for standing where other animals would not even pause to think. They live on walls, ledges, and wind-cut slopes that make level ground feel like a rumor from another planet. But even a mountain goat cannot grip empty air. The kid is alive. That is the good news. The bad news is everything around him. Earlier that morning, the cliff had looked almost gentle. Spring has reached the high country in pieces. Snow still clings in blue-shadowed gullies, but the exposed ridges are waking. Meltwater slips over black stone. Yellow-green sedges push out of cracks. Lichen paints the boulders in pale orange and silver. In places where winter has finally let go, the first new food of the season grows close to the edge. For a mountain goat nanny, this country is not a mistake. It is a nursery with teeth. Predators have a harder time here. Wolves, bears, and cougars can travel through rough ground, but cliffs change the rules. A slope that slows a hunter can become a road for an animal built for balance. The nanny knows this. Her body knows it even more than her mind does. She is heavy through the shoulders, white-coated, sharp-horned, and calm in the way an animal becomes calm when panic has never helped. Beside her, the kid is still learning what his own legs are for. He was born with the equipment of a climber. Split hooves that can spread on rock, firm outer edges that catch tiny holds, soft inner pads that grip uneven surfaces, and a body light enough to place on steps no bigger than a hand. Within hours of birth, mountain goat kids can stand and follow. Soon after, they begin climbing because in this world, childhood does not come with a flat practice field, but equipment is not wisdom. The kid can climb. He does not yet know when not to. The nanny moves across the slope slowly, testing each step before trusting it. She does not travel in a straight line. Nothing sensible does on a mountain. She angles upward, pauses behind a rib of stone, crosses a shallow crack, then climbs again toward a shelf where grass grows in short, bright clumps. The kid follows with the brave seriousness of a young animal that has not yet built a full relationship with consequences. At first, he stays close. His small hooves click against stone. His knees wobble once, then recover. He hops onto a low ledge and looks around as if he has personally solved geology. The nanny glances back. That glance is not decoration. It is instruction. Stay close. Watch the feet. Use the solid rock. Do not waste movement. The kid lowers his head and feeds beside her. For a few minutes, the world is simple. Cold air, warm sun, green blades of grass, and the soft sound of chewing above a valley still half asleep. Then a shadow crosses the snow. A golden eagle rides the morning wind below the ridge, far enough away to be only a shape, close enough to matter. For an adult mountain goat, the eagle is not a serious threat. For a small kid, the sky is another direction from which trouble can arrive. The nanny steps between the kid and open air. The eagle does not dive. It keeps moving, measuring the slope with patient circles. The kid sees the movement, but not the meaning. His attention drifts to a brighter patch of plants several body lengths away. The grass grows from a crack beyond the main shelf, fresh and wet from meltwater. It is not far. To a young goat, not far can feel the same as safe. He steps away. One hoof lands well. The next lands on a sloping plate of rock dusted with grit. It holds. That is almost worse, because success can be a very persuasive teacher. He takes another step. The nanny lifts her head. The kid keeps going. Now the shelf narrows. The good rock fades into fractured shale, thin flakes stacked by weather and loosened by freezing nights. From above, it looks solid enough. From below, it is already tired. The kid reaches the green crack and starts to feed. The mountain gives no warning. The edge beneath his front hoof drops away. Not the whole cliff. Not even a large piece. Just enough. His body lurches forward. He scrambles, kicks, catches nothing, then slides sideways down the face in a rush of dust and stone. The fall is short. Short is not the same as safe. He lands on the narrow shelf below, stunned but upright. His breath comes fast. One back leg trembles. He presses himself against the cliff, not because he has chosen a strategy, but because there is nowhere else to put fear. Above him, the nanny calls. Her voice rolls across the rock, low and sharp. The kid answers with a thin bleat that seems too small for the size of the mountain. Between them is only a few body lengths of height. It might as well be a different country. The shelf below the kid is not a ledge in the comfortable sense. It is a wrinkle in the cliff face, a shallow seam where dust and broken stone have collected. There is room for 4 hooves if all 4 make excellent decisions at the same time. To his left, the shelf ends in a vertical crack. To his right, it slopes down toward a patch of rotten snow that overhangs the drop. Behind him is rock. In front of him is air. The first thing he tries is the obvious thing, climbing straight back up. He stretches his neck. His front hooves search for holds above his head. One hoof taps stone, the other slides. He tries to push from his back legs, but loose gravel rolls under him. He freezes, body shaking, sides pumping. This is the cruel puzzle of steep country. Going up can look impossible. Going down can be worse. A mountain goat's gift is precision. The hooves do not stick to rock like magic. They work because the animal places them exactly, uses pressure carefully, and understands the tiny difference between a crack that will hold and a crack that only looks polite. The kid has instinct. He has balance. He has the beginning of strength. What he does not have is a library of mistakes that ended well. The nanny cannot reach him from above. If she steps onto the broken patch, more rock may fall. If she rushes, she may send loose stone directly onto the kid. So she does something that looks almost like nothing. She waits. Waiting on a cliff is not giving up. It is refusing to make the mountain worse. The wind rises. It slides along the face, lifts dust from the ledges, and tugs at the kid's coat. Crosswind is not dramatic from a distance. It does not roar like an avalanche. It simply pushes at the wrong moment. It turns a small step into a question. The kid crouches lower. The eagle circles once more below the ridge, then drifts away toward the valley. The sky threat passes. The rock threat remains. The nanny moves, not toward the broken place, but sideways. She studies the cliff with the stillness of experience. There is a faint diagonal line running down from her shelf toward the kid's right side. It is not a path an animal would choose unless every better path had resigned. But it exists. A series of small knobs, a crack with dry moss, a stone lip, then a wider block below. The kid cannot see the whole route from where he stands. The nanny can. She steps onto the first knob. Her hooves spread. Her weight settles. Nothing breaks. She takes another step, then stops where the kid can see her body angled across the wall. She is not coming to lift him. Mountain goats do not rescue their young by carrying them down cliffs. The help she can offer is older and harder. She can show him where the mountain is still real. The kid bleats again. The nanny answers, then lowers her head toward the diagonal seam. At first, he does not move. Fear has a way of making the body believe that stillness is safety, even when stillness is only a pause before the next problem. The shelf under him is crumbling grain by grain. A small stone breaks free near his back hoof and ticks down the cliff. He flinches. That flinch almost costs him. His front hoof slips, and for one sharp instant his body tilts toward open air. He slams his chest back against the rock. Dust shakes from his coat. His eyes are wide. His legs lock. The nanny stays where she is. If she panics, he will panic harder. So she becomes the calmest thing on the mountain. The route begins with a step that looks too small to matter. Only a few inches to the right. But those inches change the angle of his body. They bring his front hoof to a rough patch instead of smooth shale. They put his weight over stone that is still attached to the mountain instead of stone thinking seriously about leaving. The kid reaches. His hoof touches the rough patch. It slips. He pulls back. The nanny shifts her own foot onto the same kind of texture, pressing down, showing the weight. Her movement is slow enough to be read. The kid tries again. This time the hoof stays. One foot is not rescue. It is permission. He moves the second front hoof, then one back hoof. The shelf sheds gravel beneath him, but his body has begun to turn. He is no longer facing the impossible climb. He is facing the diagonal. The next section is worse. A crack cuts through the rock like a black line. To cross it, the kid must place his front feet on the far side before his back feet are ready to leave the near side. For an adult, it is a careful stretch. For him, it is a gap that seems to widen while he looks at it. He leans forward, stops, leans again. Below, the valley opens in pale blue distance. Far beneath the cliff, a creek threads through spruce, bright with snowmelt. It is beautiful in the way dangerous things often are when viewed from too high up. The kid makes a small sound. The nanny steps down to the next hold and waits. She is close enough now that he can smell her. That matters. On a cliff, companionship does not change gravity, but it can change the amount of fear an animal must carry alone. He stretches across the crack. His front hooves land. His back legs scramble. One hoof catches only the edge. Stone flakes away. For a moment, his body hangs crooked, head low, back end sliding. Then the soft inner pad of his hoof grips. He pulls himself across. The movement is ugly. Ugly is allowed. Alive is the standard. Dark clouds gather over the ridge. The light cools. Meltwater that had been a thread becomes a trickle, running over the next section of rock and polishing it dark. The nanny reaches the wider block below the seam. From there, a safe shelf angles back toward the herd. She could climb out now. The kid cannot. There is one more step. It is not far, less than the length of his body. A short drop from the narrow seam to the wider block where his mother stands. But the landing slopes outward. If he jumps too hard, he will bounce toward the edge. If he jumps too weakly, his front feet will hit and slide. If he waits too long, his tired legs may choose for him. This is the part of survival that never looks fair from the outside. The hardest move can arrive after most of the danger has already been crossed, when the body has spent its strength and the mind has spent its courage. The nanny backs away from the landing zone. She gives him space. It may look cold. It is not. If she stands too close, he may aim for her body instead of the rock. If he collides with her, both animals could lose balance. Love on a cliff has to be practical. The kid lowers his head. He tests the seam with one hoof. His legs shake. He waits. Wind presses his coat flat. The trickle of meltwater runs between his toes. He lifts his front legs and drops. For a fraction of a second, he is not climbing. He is falling with a plan. His front hooves hit the block. They slide. His chest dips. His back feet strike behind him. The block holds. The kid folds low, nearly sitting, then scrambles forward until his shoulder bumps the nanny's leg. She does not celebrate. Wild animals rarely have time for the emotional editing humans would prefer. She simply turns, checks the slope above, and starts moving toward the safer shelf. The kid follows. This time, he looks before every step. Not perfectly. He is still young. His legs are still too new for the scale of the world. But something has changed. The cliff has become more than a playground and more than a pantry. It has become information. Rough stone holds. Loose shine cannot be trusted. Wind matters. The shortest route may be the wrong one, and the animal ahead of you may know things your hooves have not learned yet. By late afternoon, the herd has moved onto a high shelf above the broken face. The sun returns in thin bands between clouds. The white coats of the goats glow against dark rock and old snow. Far below, the place where the kid fell is only a small wound on the mountain, already quiet, already becoming part of the cliff again. The kid stands beside his mother, legs tucked under him, head low with exhaustion. He is not brave in the way stories often use the word. He did not conquer the mountain. He did not defeat fear. Fear stayed with him the whole time. It stood on the shelf, crossed the crack, and jumped onto the final block. What changed is that fear stopped giving all the instructions. The nanny feeds a few steps away, close enough for him to touch if he rises. Her body is still between him and the most open edge. Her horns catch the last light. Her hooves are dark against the stone. Tomorrow, he will climb again. That sounds harsh only from a comfortable distance. For a young mountain goat, climbing is not a stunt. It is shelter. It is food. It is the difference between a predator's path and a place where few predators can follow. The cliff will not become kinder because he is young. The wind will not slow down to help him think. The rock will not announce which pieces are ready to break. But the kid has carried one lesson out of the trap. Survival is not always the strongest leap or the highest climb. Sometimes it is the pause before the hoof comes down. The extra breath. The choice to follow experience when instinct wants to rush. In the mountains, every ledge is both danger and refuge. Every step is a question. And for one young goat, the answer begins with learning to look before trusting the stone.